today is titled Digital Forensics, the missing piece in the big data puzzle. Although I put the question mark at the end, there is no question mark there for me. I am sure that it is, and I will try to show to you that that is indeed the case. So the explosion of the big data has been to 21st century what Industrial Revolution was to the 19th century. It has changed the way we do business, it has changed the way we gather intelligence, it has changed the way we run governments, and it has changed the way we do research. But this is just the beginning, and now is the time to be creative and to fill in those gaps that technology will later catch up with right now with the skills and expertise that we have today. That's why digital forensics is such an important methodology that we can use when filling in the gaps that Chris has identified in his presentation. So what big data can do today is it can show trends, it can identify relationships and correlations, it can monitor developments in real time. But what it cannot do, it can't explain why. So it can't tell us why there are so many Germans on Vkontakte. It can't tell us why Le Pen's followers tweet between 5 and 6 p.m. It can't tell us why there are so many copies of identical articles that are being spread across the internet. It can explain why, but it can show us trends that we can then follow up on using digital forensic research. And secondly, it can predict future threats unless they are a part of a pre-existing trend. So we can't predict a meteorite falling into the Earth's atmosphere if that is not a part of a previous trend. That's why we need digital forensic research. So I work at the Digital Forensic Research Lab. It is a project that is run by the Atlantic Council, but it is partially supported by the NATO Stratcom Center of Excellence, where our Baltics team is based. Now, the purpose of the DFR Lab is to use open source data, by which we mean social media. We use satellite imagery, we use social media listening tools, we use the social media big data to answer questions that and monitor issues that are related with the Baltic and the wider Eurasia region, the security questions and the information space there. So what I will do now is show you how we use digital forensic research to complement the big data analysis to break stories that would otherwise get lost in the analytics. Now let's dive into that. So on each slide you will see two images, the big data view and the digital forensics view. So a couple of months ago we noticed that there were a lot of Germans on Vkontakte. Vkontakte is like Russian Facebook, but it is targeted towards Russian speakers. And I tried to answer that question by diving in more. So as you can see, the big data view is an excerpt from Alexa. It's a big data analytics for websites. And we found that the third most populous country to visit Vkontakte the most was Germany. Now we tried to understand why it was, and we looked into German language communities on Vkontakte to understand why they were using a social network site that is predominantly geared towards Russian speakers. And what we found was quite a surprise. It turns out that the most popular page in German language on Vkontakte is the page that you can see over there. It's called Anonymous Collective, and it is a fake news publishing organization that was kicked out of Facebook in June last year, and has since, instead of changing its ways and perhaps preaching, instead of saying less hateful speech, they decided to just change the social media that it was on. So they left Facebook and they joined Vkontakte, and they used all the information channels that they had to their followers to tell them come to Vkontakte. That's where we are at now, and they have a more liberal attitude towards hate speech. So what we did, we looked into more communities that were predominantly German-speaking communities on Facebook, and we found that Anonymous Collective wasn't the only one. We found at least 50 groups that were spreading fake news, neo-Nazi propaganda, and very, very hateful speech targeted in particularly against refugees. And so we managed to see the big data perspective that there were a lot of Germans on VK, and then understand why that was the case. We found that they are going there and using that as a safe haven to avoid the censorship, as they call it, on the mainstream social networking sites. And as a result, we published a story on how Russian internet became a safe haven for fake news publishers in Germany. And here you can see the beauty of using the big data and digital forensics. It's sort of an art, if you know what I mean. If it weren't for big data, we wouldn't know that there was a story. But without digital forensics, we wouldn't have the story itself. So what big data shows us are trends, but it can't predict future threats unless they are a part of an already existing trend. To this end, we found that digital forensics are incredibly useful and valuable when trying to pinpoint the next points of contention. For the lack of time, I'd like to share with you some insights that we found about what the future holds. So, for the lack of a better word, I call this the alternative internet, altnet. Let me explain by that. Let me explain what I mean by that with a couple of examples. So, Nathan has already mentioned Gab.ai. Gab.ai is Twitter for those who get kicked out of Twitter for violating their community rules and practices. It recently has become a go-to social network for far-right, alt-right, and extreme conservatives, among others, who are seeking a less regulated social network where they can spread their hate speech online. To date, Gab.ai has 500,000 people waiting to join the network because right now it's still in beta version. And we have noticed that a lot of alternative right Twitter accounts have been putting it out on Twitter, spreading the word that Gab.ai is the next big thing. Now, the only reason we know about it is because we have our two fingers on the alt-right social media pulse and we monitor it very closely and we know what the next big thing for them is. Now, we could not see this trend if we were using big data because we could not see that Twitter membership is declining, which it isn't yet, and we couldn't see that Facebook membership is declining because it isn't yet. It starts with these small changes that are very hard for big data to pick up. That's why we need digital forensic research to monitor it very closely. Another example is Contacte, and I already talked about it. So what we noticed is that Contacte has been attracting a lot of fake news publishers and groups that are spreading hateful speech and white supremacist rhetoric. So we found an article on Atlantic that was published last summer, but somehow didn't get a lot of media attention, and it was about how American neo-Nazis are moving to Contacte. Now, that is not to say that Contacte has no rules or standards when it comes to hate speech. They do, but they enforce them very selectively. So very often they will use hate speech rules and regulations that they have to ban anti-Putin opposition parties from being on social networks, but will largely ignore the white supremacists. So what we see happening, what the Gab.ai and Russian internet have in common is that their goal is to create an alternative space that would avoid the scrutiny of Facebook and Twitter. It signifies a new line of division in our societies, both online and offline. So these trends show that our political views no longer determine what media we read. It also determines the membership of the social media. So this is basically cementing the echo chambers we've been talking about the whole day. It means that we're not just talking in different rooms in the same building. We are talking in different buildings. There isn't a chance for us to even accidentally interact with each other when we're looking for the bathroom or the canteen. We are completely separated, and that is a very dangerous threat. A lot of people think it's a good thing that they are finding their own safe space and will no longer bother us on Twitter or Facebook. But that is not necessarily a good thing because the answer to that, as Dr. Christina Arcadi points out, is interaction and dialogue. We can't just isolate ourselves from one another because otherwise we'll never overcome the differences and the sense of conflict that we have among ourselves. And with that scary thought, I would like to thank you for your attention.